Hello, I'm Becky. Welcome to your practice. Today's practice is yoga for sciatica pain. So we're going to take 8 poses that's going to help relieve sciatica pain. So what is sciatica pain? It's pain that originates in the back and goes down the leg, sometimes all the way down the leg to the foot. Sometimes it's just stays in the hip area. So the sciatic nerve, there's one on each side. There's a bundle of nerves that then merge into one big nerve that goes all the way down the leg. Sometimes the sciatica pain is caused by a herniated disc. So if you think you've got a herniated disc or you're just not sure, it's always best to check with your doctor. But yoga poses that are nice and slow and gentle can also help with a herniated disc. You don't always need back surgeries. A lot of times herniated disc will get better on their own if you give them a little bit of rest and TLC. But sciatica pain can also be caused from a tight piriformis muscle. So what is the piriformis muscle? It's a short muscle, small, and it goes from kind of the inner glute all the way over to the hip. So a little short muscle, and it can get very tight on each side. If it gets really tight, sometimes it presses against other tendons, and that sciatic nerve goes down through the middle and it will press and compress them, causing that pain in the sciatic nerve. So we're going to do some poses that are nice and gentle, a lot that are going to stretch the piriformis muscle. So the first one, and you're going to need a chair for a couple of these, so a folding chair or a dining room chair, have that handy. The first one, we're going to get started down on our back for a figure 4 pose. So come down onto your back. The knees are bent, and so kind of just adjust. Let the shoulders, let the hips, let the low back kind of relax on the mat. We're going to take the right ankle and bring it to the left thigh. We want to keep the right foot flexed. That's going to protect our right knee. And we're just gently going to move the right thigh away from us. So you can take the right hand and gently move the right thigh away, or the right knee and thigh can move away on its own resistance to the left leg. So just a few breaths into this right hip. But we're going to keep the right ankle where it is. On our next exhale, bring both knees in. Now you can hold each leg with each hand, or you can wrap the hands around the back of the left thigh and then use your right elbow to press the right thigh away. Both feet are flexed to protect the knees. So now as we bring those knees in towards the body, we're going to feel that bigger stretch on the outer right hip, thigh, and glute area. So that is really working on stretching that piriformis muscle. Now, to make this stretch a little less intense, both knees can come to the right. To make it a little more intense, or if you feel like you need a little more stretch, the knees come back to center and then a little over to the left. So you're going to find that spot where it's just the right amount of stretch. Hold there and breathe. Make sure the chin didn't lift up towards the ceiling. We want to lengthen the back of the neck, relax the shoulders, big breaths into the low belly. And we're going to come out of this by bringing the left foot down to the mat, and then the right foot down to the mat, and then adjust the hips and shoulders so you feel evenly placed on the mat. I'm going to take that to the other side. The left ankle comes to the right thigh, left foot is flexed. Gently move the left thigh away from you. So we'll feel that kind of more in the front or side of the left hip. Couple breaths here. Keep the left ankle where it is. On your next exhale, bring both knees into the chest. You can hold each leg with each hand or wrap the hands around the back of the right thigh. Use the left elbow to press the left thigh away. Okay, both feet flexed to protect the knees. If you want it a little less intense, both knees can come over to the left. If you want a little bit more stretch, the knees come to center and then a little over to the right. Find your just right spot, hold there and breathe. The back of the neck is long. So this is a nice stretch for that piriformis muscle, for the hip flexors. If you have any pain, if it's not working for you, just come out of it. So we take these stretches nice and slow and easy, and we can modify them. We'll come out of this stretch. We're going to bring the right foot down to the floor, left foot down to the floor, Once both feet are on the mat, just rock the hips a little side to side. So we get a little bit of a massage in the low back and in the hips and in the glute area. Good. Bring the knees to center, and then we're going to roll over onto our side. Either side, come up to sitting. And we're going to do a half-seated spinal twist. So sitting tall, knees are bent. We're going to take the left heel and bring it underneath by the right hip. And we're going to just kind of hug this right knee in. We're going to sit nice and tall. So a half-seated spinal twist. Good. Sitting nice and tall, so we're getting a stretch on both sides of the glutes and the piriformis muscle. Don't round the back, don't slump. We want to sit nice and tall, and the weight should be even on both sitting bones. Couple breaths here. So we're breathing into this right side of the belly. The right thigh is pulled in. We'll come out of it. We're going to bring the left foot out. We'll switch sides. So we're going to bring the right heel underneath by the left hip. We can pull that left knee in a little closer if that feels good. The weight's even on both sits bones. We're sitting nice and tall. So don't lean more to the right or more to the left. Be real even on the sits bones. Big breaths into the low belly. So now we're breathing into that left thigh. Good. And we're going to come out of this. So we'll bring the right foot out. Good. Now we're going to go into a full seated spinal twist. So we're going to take one more time. That left heel comes under by the right hip. Now for this one, you can keep the right foot where it is, or you can bring the right foot over across on the outside of the left leg. If you do that and you start to lean more to one side or the other, then we don't want that because the hips aren't balanced, and that's going to bring an imbalance into the pose. So you can always keep that right foot right where it was on that half spinal twist, or bring it over. But notice, rock a little side to side, get that weight even on the sits bones. I'm going to leave my foot where it was on that the half twist. We're going to take the right hand back behind us, and the left hand is going to be on the right knee. We're going to push the right hand into the floor. Inhale, sit nice and tall. And as you exhale, we'll turn to the right. We're pulling the right thigh into the belly. We've got the weight even on both sits bones. Rock a little side to side. See if you're leaning more to one side or the other. Each inhale, we sit a little taller, lengthen the spine upwards. And each exhale, relax the lower body, relax into the twist. When we inhale, we want the belly to press into the right thigh. Couple more breaths. We're going to come out of this on an inhale. We're going to come forward. We're going to bring the left foot out. We're going to switch sides. So the right heel is going to come by the left hip. So we can keep the left foot where it is. We want that weight even on the sits bones. Or we can bring the left foot on the outside of the right leg. Sometimes that will cause you to lean more to the right. Then the hips are off balance and you're only going to exacerbate sciatica pain. So I'm going to keep my left foot right where it was, so I feel really even on both sits bones. We're going to go into the full twist. So the left hand comes behind you or beside you, right hand on the left knee. We always twist on an exhale. So inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, we're going to turn to the left. We'll pull that left thigh into the belly. See that the weight's even on both hips, so we're getting a nice stretch on both piriformis muscles here. Inhale, we lengthen the spine, sit even taller, and exhale, relax into the twist. Good. One more nice full inhale and a full exhale, and we're going to come out of that. So we're going to come forward. We'll bring the right foot out. We're going to come onto hands and knees. We're going to go all the way up to standing. So come up into hands and knees. We'll go through squat pose, curl the toes under, walk the hands back, and then we'll come into a standing forward fold. Lift the hips, lower the heels, hands up above the knees, strong legs, long spine. We hinge all the way up. So now we're going to do a standing spinal twist. This is where we're going to use a chair. So get your chair, and we're going to take the right foot and place it on top of the seat of the chair. Now here we want the hips to be level. So sometimes when that foot comes up on top of the chair, that side, that hip will come up a little higher. So we want to move that right hip down so that the hips are level. We're going to take the right hand to the right hip and the left hand to the right knee. We always twist with our exhale. So inhale, sit, stand tall, hips are level. Exhale, we're going to turn to the right. And notice if that right hip wants to lift. And we're going to keep leveling the hips. Big breaths into the low belly. Shoulders relaxed. Breathing into the twist. We're going to come out of the twist. So we inhale to come out. We'll bring the right foot down and we're going to switch sides. So walk to the other side of the chair. Your left foot will be on the seat of the chair, hips level. Notice if the left hip lifts, try to lower it a little bit, try to level and even out the hips. Left hand on the left hip, right hand to the left knee. Inhale, stand tall, exhale, and turn to the left. See that the hips are level. Notice if that left hip wanted to lift. Big breaths into the low belly, shoulders relaxed. So these twists help to balance left side, right side of the body. We're going to come out of the twist. We're going to inhale, come forward. We'll bring the left foot down. The next one is a standing hamstring stretch. So sometimes our hamstrings get very tight and that will give us pain in the sciatic muscle or in the low back. So we're going to do a standing hamstring stretch. So turn the chair so that the seat of the chair is facing you. When you want a chair that will have your foot lower than your hip. So if the chair, it's a real high chair, we don't want a real high chair with a high seat. So we're going to stand facing the chair, the feet hip width apart, and give yourself enough room so that you can lift that right foot up and put your right heel on the chair. Right foot is flexed. Now get balanced on that left foot. Left toes should be pointing straight ahead. They shouldn't point out to the left. Here again, we want to level the hips. So make sure the right hip doesn't lift too high. Hips are level. We're going to keep our spine nice and long. And this might be enough of a hamstring stretch for you here. But if you want a little bit more stretch, keep a nice long spine and we're going to hinge from the hips. Just come a little bit forward. Keep the hips level. Neck long, spine long, and we're getting a nice stretch on the back of the right hamstring. Notice if that right hip wants to lift. We want to move that right hip down just a little bit so the hips stay level. Belly pulls in and up to support the spine. Nice and slow. We're going to come back up and then we'll bring the right foot down. Good. Take a moment, kind of shake that out. We can feel that in the right leg. Feet hip width apart, feet pointing straight ahead. We're going to balance on the right foot and we're going to bring the left foot, left heel to the chair, left foot flex. So now level the hips. This left hip might rotate, might lift a little. Move that left hip down. Hips are level. You can stay here. It's a great stretch for the back of the leg, this left hamstring. The right leg also getting strengthened by balancing on that foot. If you want a little bit more stretch, keep the spine nice and long, and we hinge from the hips, hinging forward just a little bit. That's going to intensify the stretch on the back of that left leg. Keep the hips level. So sometimes that left hip will just start to lift. No, we want to roll that left hip down, hips level with each other. Big breaths, head in line with the spine. Belly pulls in to support the back. Nice and slow, we're going to come up and then we'll bring the left foot down. Good, and then shake that out. We're done with the chair, so we can set the chair aside. We're going to come down onto the mat for a modified Gomukhasana, so a modified hip stretch. So let's come all the way down to the mat. Stretch the legs out, lean back on the hands, and just kind of windshield wiper the feet. Now we're going to bring the legs parallel with each other. You can also, for a little bit of safety for the low back, you can have a folded blanket And you can sit just on the edge of that blanket. That will help to roll the hips forward. So sitting nice and tall, feet flexed, we're going to bend the right knee. So the right foot's on the floor. And then we're going to take the right foot across the left leg. And we're going to take that right foot and bring it over by the side of the left hip. This left foot stays flexed, sitting nice and tall. So this is a big stretch, especially on this outer right hip and piriformis muscle. The back of the left leg, so our left hamstring is getting a great stretch. Sitting nice and tall. You can modify this right foot. So if that right foot won't go over by the left hip, you can just bring that right foot to the floor, or you might need to stay here just with this right foot on the right side. But you can bring it to the left side, or you can bring that right foot by the left hip. The bottom of the right foot will face backwards. The outside edge of the right foot on the floor. Sitting nice and tall, your knees kind of stack one on top of each other. So you just modify to see how you are. Your hips might be tighter on one side or the other. So just modify the pose. Inhale, if you want a little extra stretch, exhale, hinge forward just a little bit. The spine is long. We don't bend from the waist. We hinge from the hips. Big stretch on that back of that left leg, and a big stretch on the right hip and piriformis muscle. We're going to come out of it. So inhale, come back. We're going to bring the right foot back and stretch the right leg out, both feet flexed. Other side. We're going to bend the left knee, bring the left foot to the floor. So this might be all the stretch you need here for this left hip, left piriformis muscle. Or you can bring the left foot on the outside of the right leg. We want that right foot flexed. We're going to get a big stretch on that right hamstring. Or you can bring the left foot over by the right hip. So the outside edge of the left foot will be on the floor and the sole of the left foot is facing back. Your knees are a little bit stacked, sitting nice and tall. And you might find that one side is easier or one side's harder or tighter. So sitting tall, if you want to take it a little bit to the next level, long spine, we're going to hinge forward. That's going to really intensify that stretch on the back of the right leg, the right hamstring, and a little bit more into this outer left hip. Spine is long. Don't bend from the waist, hinge from the hips. Big breaths. And always listening to the body. Come out of it if you need to, if it's too much stretch, or just modify, bring the left foot to the floor or bring the left foot back to the left side of the right leg. Nice and slow. We're going to come back up and then we'll bring that left foot over, stretch the left leg out. We're going to windshield wiper the feet. Just shake out those legs. The next pose is going to be pigeon pose. So come onto hands and knees. We're going to have the wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips. So pigeon pose. We're going to take the right knee and bring it up behind the right wrist. Curl your left toes under, lift the left knee up and swing that right foot over to the left. Then lower the left knee down. We want to keep this right foot flexed. That's going to protect the right knee. Your left heel is going to be in line with your left leg. As you curl those left toes under, start to walk the left knee back. Try to keep the hips level. So only go as far down as you can so that the hips are level. If you can't get too far down, then you can take a yoga block or a blanket or cushion and place under that outer right hip or thigh. But the hips need to be level. The tendency is going to, with the bent knee side, the tendency as you come lower will be to roll onto that bent knee side hip. That's not good because it's misaligning all the hips and both hips and those hip flexor muscles. So we want to roll the extended leg hip. We want to roll that towards the floor. This foot stays flexed. You can come down to elbows. That's going to take a little bit of the back bend out of it. If you want to work on this left side a little bit, curl the left toes under and push that left heel away from you. The left knee can lift up off the mat. So keep your right foot flexed, keep the hips level, keep breathing. Good, and we're going to come out of it. So lower that left knee down, come back up to your hands. We're going to walk that left knee in. So start walking that left knee in, and then lift the left knee up and bring the right knee down. So we're back into hands and knees table. Swish the hips a little side to side. Good, we're going to do the other side. So hands and knees table. Take the left knee and bring it behind the left wrist. Curl your right toes under, lift the right knee up. Swing the left foot over to the right. Left foot is flexed. Lower the knee down. Slowly start to walk that right knee back. Keep the hips level. So you can stay right here. If this is where the hips are level, stay right here. You can bring a block or a cushion or a folded blanket under that left hip to kind of rest there and keep the hips level. Or if you feel like you can go down a little further, keep walking that right knee back. Keep the left foot flexed. We'll lower down to elbows to take the back bend out of it. If you want a little bit more work on the right side, curl the right toes under. Lift the right knee up as you push the right heel away. So hips level, don't lean, don't roll onto that left hip. Hips level. So we want to roll the right hip towards the floor. Keep that left foot flexed. That's going to protect the knee. Big breaths. We're going to come out of it. So lower the right knee down if you had lifted it. Come back up to the hands. Start to walk the right knee in. Little by little, walk it in. Then lift the right knee and bring the left knee down. So we're back into hands and knees table pose. Swish the hips a little side to side. Shift back into child's pose, just a breath. Big toes barely touching, knees separate apart, and then bring the forehead down to rest on stacked hands. So this is just going to stretch out the low back and also stretch out the glutes and the hips and the piriformis muscle. From child's pose, our last pose is going to be downward dog. Stretch the hands as far forward as they'll go. Elbows are up off the mat. Come up into your hands and knees. Walk your knees a little closer together. Take a look at the hands. Hands are at least as wide as the shoulders, maybe a little wider. Index fingers parallel with each other. Curl your toes under. Inhale. With your exhale, lift up and shift back. So your head will be right in between your arms. Tuck your chin. Top of the head points towards the floor. Spread the toes out on the mat. We're going to walk it out a little bit. One heel lowers, other heel lowers. So this is stretching the backs of the legs, the calves and the hamstrings. It's evening right side, left side of the body, stretching the spine, stretching the low back. Pull the belly in and up to support the back. Keep that little tuck of the chin and just work the legs. Now level the hips. Put a little bend in the knees and lift the hips a little higher up towards the ceiling. We're going to come down to knees now. And then shift back into child's pose, just a couple breaths. You can stack the hands and rest your forehead on stacked hands. Wobble hips and shoulders a little side to side. Just stretch out right side, left side of the hips, of the low back, and the glutes. Good, and then make your way all the way up to sitting. Let's swing the feet around. Those are our 8 poses for sciatic pain. Stretch the legs out, lean back on the hands, just windshield wiper the feet. So doing this practice anytime you've got that pain in the hips, the low back. Let's come all the way down onto our back. Hug the knees into the chest. You can also do this little practice as a maintenance to keep the sciatic pain away. So just roll a little side to side, rolling out that whole back body. Bring the knees to center. Use your abdominals. Don't let the back arch. We're going to bring our feet down to the floor. They can come down one at a time if you need. We're going to stretch the legs out one at a time. We're going to take a short relaxation. So arms at your side, palms up. Let the legs relax. The front of the hips open. The back of the knees open. A little length in the back of the neck and the shoulders relax. So let the whole lower body relax, the back, the hips, the glutes, the legs. Let the upper body relax, the shoulders, upper back, and the arms. Inhale, feel the belly rise. And exhale, feel the belly fall. Just a little short relaxation after this practice to help relieve sciatic pain. Eyes relax, jaw relaxes. Each exhale, letting go of any tension, any tightness, any discomfort, anything that the body's holding on to. And maybe a positive affirmation to the body silently to yourself. I am healthy. I am strong. All is well. I am flexible. Then we'll wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Bend the knees, bring the feet to the floor. Roll to one side, either side. Use your strong arms to come all the way up to sitting. So sit tall. I like to sit on a yoga block. You can sit on a folded blanket. You can be kneeling, cross-legged, or feet out in front of you. See what feels best to the low back and to the hips. Tailbone's going to move back slightly, heart lifts slightly. Scoop the belly in and up a little bit. Let the shoulders relax down. Head right over the tailbone. Feel grounded down through the seat. Feel the spine growing up tall through the neck, all the way through the crown of the head. We'll bring the palms together, thumbs at the heart. And this ends our practice. Namaste. So I hope you find this practice helpful for hip pain, piriformis pain, low back pain. And always check with your doctor to make sure there's not a herniated or bulging disc. But know that yoga can help you get past these little imbalances in the body. A slow, thoughtful, mindful practice can really help to balance the body, can help to stretch out hamstrings, stretch out tight piriformis muscles, tone and strengthen the core and the back. So I hope you like today's practice. Give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who you think might benefit, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye.